DIY.
DIYers, welcome in. Today should be a very interesting day. A day that if you have been on the fence about all this content that you've been seeing from this channel, about Spotify, about streaming in general, this is going to be a conversation you do not want to miss. Not only will it be a really important conversation that we're having with our guest today, Kaila Love, but it's also going to be a solution that we'll bring into the front that we're going to talk about as well. But I want to make sure as you guys make your way in here, you make sure you hit that like button. Let the rest of our subscribers, our friends, our DIYers know that we are going live. But without further ado, we finally made it happen. Hold on, let me turn this music down just a smidgy. We finally got Kaila Love in the building. Oh, first and foremost, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing well. I'm blessed. I'm happy to be here. It's been a long time coming. And it's just like, I know I'm manifesting some real stuff when people, that I've been fans of is becoming my peers now. And you on that list, Curtis.
I appreciate that. I genuinely do. And, I was introduced to you obviously through your video content first. It's funny because I feel like I've seen your name many different places. I feel like I've seen it through some people that you've collaborated with, and you already know how it is. Like we can see artists, we can see music, and till we hear a song or something, we may not even necessarily dive all the way in. But the content, and to me, this only hammers home the importance of content in general for artists in general, in that you were making some pretty interesting content dealing with Spotify in general, and it came at a time where this channel in general has been very, very critical of a lot of the changes of Spotify. And the reason why it's more centered on Spotify is because in a lot of ways they've been kind of leading the charge on these new experimental ways that it feels like to screw over artists, specifically independent artists. And I remember seeing a piece of your content. I reacted to it in one of my videos where you're talking specifically to Spotify's investment in AI weapons and how it affects Palestine and all these different things that I'm like, I'm not even thinking that it's that broad of our problematic. It gets so deep. But before we get into all that, because we're going to save enough time for that, as well as a solution that I want to make sure you guys are here for to hear. But tell the people a little bit about yourself. Can I just first give it one introduction before you get into that? Hold on.
Okay.
Rapper, songwriter, entrepreneur, tech genius that I had no idea about. She just very casually told me, like, yeah, I did a little coding. What you mean you did a little bit of coding? What does that mean? Someone who is, in my opinion, an activist in this space for artists and really doing everything she can to use her platform to highlight ways that, we can take back our ownership. So, Kaila Love, one more time, round of applause before I let you get into your introduction. I just need them to understand how important this meeting is. I get excited about all of my guests that come here, but I get more excited when I know that I'm going to learn something in the process, and I know that you're no exception to that rule. But please tell the people that don't know all of the amazing things that you do.
Oh, man. Well, my name is Kaila Love. I started rapping at the age of 14 to impress a boy in my 9th grade science class, and I didn't ever stop. And that road of just wanting to become a rapper has led me down so many different other kind of rabbit holes, because I realized very quickly that if I ever wanted people to hear my music, that it wasn't just about being the best rapper. I had to learn about the industry, the business side of the music and industry. And that means I had to learn copyright law. I had to learn about royalty streams. I had to learn about how to register your music. I learned about sync licensing and making connections, the power of networking, going to music conferences, touring. And I realized after about 10 years of doing that it was not just enough to get the strategy down, that artists needed infrastructure. We needed technology in order to compete. And so that's when I started getting more on the tech side of things and building out this software, which I've been working on for about 2 years, GoGetters.ai. And so I've been able to do some pretty dope things in the process. I've got my music placed on ESPN and NBA 2K. I've got to go on tour. I'm one of the first female rappers is to sell her music as an NFT. I'm a published
Wait,
author,
no, wait. You a published
AI
author. We're gonna get to that. We need to
curator.
double back to that last stat real quick. I need my friend to make sure that you get your props for what you are one of the first women to do what in this space?
To sell her music as an NFT, and then I went on to write a book called NFTs for Music. So that's one of my three books, but the only one is on Amazon. I've gone on to do content creation to do over grow both of my accounts to over 100,000 on TikTok with like a
Right.
single video, things like that. Just always kind of setting a goal. That's my whole concept is a goal getter. I
Mm.
set a goal and then I get the goal and then I teach other people how to get the same goal. I come up with the strategy and the process. So that's really what Kaila Love is about.
I've told y'all we in the presence of look. This is somebody that is an innovator in every sense of the word. And the more I get to talk to Kaila, the more I'm like, hey, like I don't say this as any kind of assault because you are you, right? We're all unique human beings. But I listen to you and I'm like, I feel like I'm talking to myself sometimes. It is so scary because you'll say something and I'm like, that
Yeah,
part,
like
that.
what's understood ain't got to be explained.
So with that said, within your music career, because I want to focus a little bit on that first before we jump into all of these other details. Who have been some of the people that you've been able to work with, and you know where people maybe have heard your voice and your music before?
Man, I think that probably the biggest one was my ESPN and my NBA 2K placement because
Uh,
actually off of that, Professor Michael Eric Dyson, holler if you hear me, who's a youth
Sheesh.
who I follow because I taught the Tupac class at UC Berkeley. And when I went to Thailand, I got a call from him talking about he was a big fan of mine. And then he started introducing himself like, "Oh, I know who you are, but how do you know who I am?" So
Right.
it hasn't even just been musical collaborations, but also with high level professors or data scientists and
Mhm.
people like that. But one of my favorite collaborations that I got to do was the original "I Got Five on It,"
Yeah.
Mr. Mike Marshall, Measy.
Wow.
He had me come on his album before. I got to open up for just what like Talib Kweli went back when I was doing UC Berkeley doing a lot of hip hop organizing,
Mm.
work with Locksmith, booking him for shows. He's one of my top five favorite rappers.
That's also who I get.
Severely underrated. Huh?
That's who I get confused for all the time. I've met him a
For
few.
real?
Yeah, I get confused for him for some. They like
That's weird.
it's because of the light skin with the beard. I promise you, we've been in the same venue, and they were like, if you guys were never here in the same place, I wouldn't believe it. I'm like, shut up. Like
I'm so through with them. Hell no.
and
Hell
we
no.
always laugh about it because it's like we laugh on Twitter like y'all just talking to you just talking to yourself on here. But no, shout out to Locksmith. I see how much activism is so much a part of what you do. I wonder, where does sort of that passion come from to teach a class at Berkeley about Pac? Like, that's a tall task to take on.
Man, well, you know that this is at UC Berkeley, we have a program called DECAL, Democratic Education at Cal. So it allows any student to teach a class on any topic as long as they
Mm,
have a faculty sponsor. So this class that actually started in 1997, the year after Tupac's death, and it was so controversial that it was covered by Bill O'Reilly on Fox News. And so, the basically, who the
right.
student that was teaching it, they graduate out. I had taken it as a freshman and I decided because I just have a passion for teaching and curriculum development
Hmm.
that I wanted to take that on. So I had taken the class from just the life and legacy of Tupac Shakur to Tupac, the evolution of hip hop and how to rap. So
Right.
yeah, you could actually take my class and get 2 academic credits. And instead of writing a final paper, you write a final rap song. And on the last day of class, we have a big cipher or whatnot. So
That's
that's when I
crazy.
seen your video about the Pac hate, I was like, oh, we
We
got
got a
stuff
whole
to
lot in common. Come
discuss.
on
Come
now,
on
because
now.
it's a lot of stuff that I just don't understand, and I'm like, for what Pac stood for, and who he banged for. Who he banged for was really the creatives. Who he really represented were people that felt like they were voiceless, and he spoke on things at an age. It's so hard to believe that this man passed away before 25 and has so much wisdom within him, and was, I mean, it's not hard to understand when you understand, like, who his mama is and who some of the
Right.
the folks that were in his environment. But it's just something that I look at it and I'm like, why is that the person, the target of all your vitriol and all of this internet hate, and I want to use him as the meter to go ahead and step myself up. I just don't understand. Why do you think it is? I mean, that's not the topic at hand, but why do you think that is that people choose him?
Oh man, first of all, this is a dead man. He can't speak back. So it'd
Right.
be like, it's always I feel like clout chasers out there and stuff, and just people that either don't know the history or just don't have respect for the history. And
Mhm.
that's why I had to evolve the class from not just him, but also the evolution of hip hop, because I feel like it's hard to appreciate his contributions both to the culture but also politically
Mm.
without contextualizing everything that came before and what would come after.
Facts.
You know? So I think it's just a lot of stuff that's people just kind of pick and choose and they don't look at the big picture. And that's not just with pop, that's with everything.
So you're in a room with a lot of independent artists, a lot of independent music producers, and we in this environment hold up the art in a very high light, and I know firsthand how challenging it is sometimes to balance or find harmony between that and all of the entrepreneur ventures and all the other things that you get into. So one thing that we do kind of hold in highlight and we talk about with our guests is, where is kind of your passion with music? Like what at this point you've done so much. What still drives you? Like what's your why with the music? What makes you fall in love with this thing that we do?
It's my latest song. I'm on a quest, I'm on a
Mhm.
mission to operate outside of their system,
Come
to
on.
create a new model of business, to demonstrate how it could be different. They want my mind, they want my vision, they want my rhyme, they want my rhythm, want me to quit, want me to give in, but I'm bigger than they algorithm. Pause. So that's really
Hold on,
that's
no,
really what I be
you
saying
can't
every
you
single day.
can't
That's
just
my
do all that.
mantra.
You got to pause. You got to give them some space. Hold on, one more time. You got to let that happen. All right, you got to let that simmer, let it situate. Look, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I want to be surrounded by. Anytime I'm doing any kind of content like this, is that I don't think a lot of people understand when they see the criticism that I shelve out at a Spotify. It comes from a place of love for the craft, an overwhelming love for what I do, a passion for what I do. And, even like the whole conversations about, the ghostwriters and all the stuff that we're seeing nowadays that are kind of moving the goalposts. I'm looking at this and I'm like, my wife still got to stop me from buying these every time I go to the grocery store. I go past that
Go
section with all of the
ahead.
markers. I'll be
Sure.
like, I just want it because I want to write something. I want to smell the new paper. Like it's a weird addiction, but I love writing that much. And that's just how it would be even if I wasn't rapping anymore. But when I see all of this stuff going on and I see the people that are in charge of these companies, it really makes me scratch my head in that, how could you not understand? How could you not get why we are so passionate about this and why we see value in this? Because it feels like there's been a concerted effort to have us believe that music isn't worth anything. I'm curious, at what point, especially with you having experience in that tech field, at one point did you start to look at Spotify and streaming with a different point of view? Because, these are services that we all have used at some point in time. You removed your music from Spotify, and I really wonder what was kind of the origin of what started that off.
Well, I studied technology and I studied technologies particularly in the music. So I became the first in my family to go to and graduate college. And I earned my bachelor's in political science from UC Berkeley in 2014. And then I went back to school to a community college to earn a degree in recording arts, audio
Mm,
engineering. And that's when I started to really be exposed to one, the business side of the music industry, and two, where I learned a lot about music technology. And a lot of people will come in and say that Spotify has destroyed the music industry. But if you actually study, going all the way back to Thomas Edison's phonograph in 1877, that was really the start of the recording industry because it was the first time that audio could be recorded and reproduced and played
mm,
back.
mm-hmm,
But then it was like we had these wax cylinders, so that was a problem. And then this guy Berliner came along and he was like, "I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna do it with flat discs." And then the flat disc came along, and then it was like shellac. But then, oh, World War II, we can't do that no more. We need that for the war. So that's when we got polyvinyl chloride, aka vinyl records, right?
mm-hmm,
So you start to study and see that every time something that there's innovation, it comes with some type of limitation. And that limitation
mm,
is what pushes the next level of innovation. And so then when we get to around 2006, we get to Spotify. And Spotify was actually solving a very important problem. And that was the problem of music piracy, which was really the thing that was going to destroy the music industry because not only were artists not getting paid and losing the industry as a whole billions of dollars, but they
mm-hmm,
didn't even have metadata to track anything about their customers, their fans who was listening to them, where their
mm,
music was being listened to. And Spotify came along to compete with, iTunes at the time and they solved that problem. So I always give Spotify props for that.
Hmm.
But again, just as I just talked about the limitations with each iteration of technology,
Right.
that there's a new problem, and that problem is now that you have a CEO that is a billionaire entrepreneur that is not invested, that doesn't understand the struggles and the pain points of the artist at all, that's
Right.
really just doing this as a profit venture and is now off on a whole bunch of other ventures, not really caring about the music industry.
Which we need to
And
talk about
artists
at
are
some
not getting
point for
paid.
sure.
I know, right? Because I'm like, oh, just say the word, just tell me when. You know what I'm
Oh, we
saying?
get we're moving
But
our way very casually into this because I think it's important. It's too easy for creatives to come together and just like bash on a platform without. I want to make sure that it's always a whole point of view of it. That I respect the fact that you are speaking on what problem they solved, but of course, with every problem that you solve, there's another one that gets created. And it's up to you about how, like you said, you innovate and move into the next phase and how you're going to fill that void. And a lot of the decision making they've been making is head scratching at the very least, and you've been shedding a lot of light on it. So continue into this path that we're going. I'm not tripping on. I know we're gonna get into all of that.
I mean, basically, where we at right now is that Spotify dominates about a third of the streaming market. And the streaming is like a subset of the music industry, but it's its own entire industry now where we have all these playlisting companies,
Right.
and along comes, all of the bots and the fraudulent streamings, and it gets messy. And then what's even worse about it is that now this has been presented to artists as the end all be all, that the only thing that matters is these vanity metrics. The only thing that matters is your monthly listeners, the number of streams that you have. But at the end of the day, if you are independent, I know that ain't paying your bills.
Hell no. It's not. There's nothing sustainable about the model, and I know that responsibility doesn't fall solely just on a Spotify, right? It is our responsibility because this is our businesses. But I've always had the issue that if you are going to treat us like businesses, then treat us like businesses by giving us the data that we need. So yeah, like you said, Spotify solved that issue. They made sure they created a space where we're able to kind of keep somewhat contact, but they still not giving out emails. And
Hell
I,
no.
I don't know what business out here survives without that email connection with their audience, without SMS, without, being able to. And then with everything that's been going on, it kind of just eventually led me to, I wonder if that's why they call them listeners and not fans.
Speak on it.
Right, especially when you're seeing all of the bot information coming out, and you're seeing all of these folks getting taken down. I really have questions, and you're not helping. I'll tell you that right now. You're not helping these questions I have, because you'll release some content where I'm like, I've been alluding to the idea that Spotify is infested with bots, and
Hmm.
it's unfortunate when I share some of these things, I'm not able to give the full context. But you do this so well within a 1 minute video. My issue's been, okay, if I'm Spotify and I find 90% fictitious streams or bots on your streams, okay, that's a weird number to land on, but fine, we're here. First
Right.
of all, it's kind of head scratching. But if I land on 90%, two issues I have with that. One, if you're finding that they're coming from playlists, which I see a lot of people talk about the will of playlists on DistroKid. I see people talk about even like in-house playlists from Spotify that are being botted. If that is the case, why is there not an effort to remove the entire playlist before removing the music?
Hmm.
I, these are just very simple questions. The second thing, if I'm paying for a service to distribute my music using TuneCore, using DistroKid, and I'm paying you yearly most times,
Right.
I deserve more transparency and more information than a cute little note about, sorry, we had to remove it, but if you like, you can re upload it. It's not our fault, it's the other guy. Meanwhile, the other guy's saying it's the other guy's fault. So it's like you're playing with not only me, but you're playing with my business, which in turn plays with my money, that plays with my family. And it's just been really weird to see that really be dominated by Spotify.
And Curtis, it's not just Spotify, it's a lot of companies
Sure.
because, and this is all gonna tie in, I promise. But I went viral because Venmo tried to play with the wrong one, i.e., me, and steal $3,000 from me. But they didn't
Wow.
know, like, I'm finna go on and I'm finna air you out. And then, it got 3 million views to the point where they called me later that afternoon. They apologized. They ran all my money out, right? and it was a customer service representative named Kyle. Now,
Hmm.
come to find out, Venmo recently laid off their entire North American customer service associates, including Kyle. I posted this video again, and
Whoa.
Kyle found it. And Kyle, he basically then gave me some tea. You know what
Uh-oh.
I'm saying? Some tea, and because Venmo, Spotify, all of they're running it the same way. They are
Right.
relying heavily on automation and algorithms in order to determine either fraudulent activity when it comes to transferring money
Hmm.
or fraudulent activities when it comes to detecting bots.
Yeah.
And that's why, you see Spotify laying off 17% of their workforce. You see Venmo laying off all of their Northern American associates, and then outsourcing the teams that are supposed to prevent fraudulent activities all the way overseas. Meanwhile, they are so disconnected from the customer experience that all they care about is their bottom line. So
Hmm.
they're not thinking about you and I as individuals that have families to feed, and how me being out this $3,000 is going to affect me, or how me not being compensated for these streams that I work so hard to get is
Yeah.
going to affect me. They just feel like, oh, well, at the end of the day, we don't want to deal with that. We just going to wipe it because it's too risky for us, and no
What?
repercussions, because we don't have the advocacy, because
Sure.
we're depending on distributors like DistroKid. Whereas a big name artist, Sony, they got the call. They just call up, oh, what's
Hmm.
going on? My artist, what, and it's gonna get fixed. But we don't have that. And then they know that we don't have the labor or the time. And thank God, because I had time that day. I don't
Yeah.
always have time. But if you catch me on a time when I got time
Oh, we're gonna
today,
use that time for sure. Yeah.
okay, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But it's the same thing, that all these companies are really operating on leveraging AI for like all the wrong reasons, and completely extracting
Mm,
the human component of being able to discern what's real and what's not. And they don't
yeah.
care about us. It's like you be saying, they be playing in your
Playing
face.
in your
And
face.
that's what we witness.
And I'm even thinking from a business standpoint, I understand wanting to like trim the fat, as they say, and try to like, make a slimmer workforce, and you wanna try to cut where you can. I understand that this goes into every business on some level, but it doesn't feel like it's a sustainable business model. I don't know. I've never ran a $1 billion company. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like it's a sustainable business model to have no warm connection, or to create this buyer's remorse from people who are like, yo, I seen stories with TuneCore where there was a lady that I did a reaction to a video where she paid for TuneCore for a year, and she did that because I think the artist's name was Graves, had some kind of a contest where if you use their vocals, she would approve it, and you can be a collaborator and be using the splits, everything, right? It was a super dope campaign. It just looked like she was really embracing AI, and TuneCore wasn't communicating all the way around with her or with the artist that they were trying to work with. And what happened was that she ended up paying for a year subscription that was part of the deal. And
Okay.
then she put her music up and they kept taking it down. But the entire conversation that she had back and forth about why they're taking it down was all automated bots, was all, the back and forth kind of automated chatting. And she never got a real answer. Then she went to Twitter to figure it out, and they hit her with the same botted answer that they hit her on email with. And so she was like, all right, you know what? Forget it. Okay, if you're not going to, like, they wouldn't approve the song basically that she was supposed to have and get the approval from Graves. She was like, all right, forget it. Just give me my money back and then we'll call it even. They were like, well, we don't offer refunds.
Oh
so
no.
so it's like that cannot be a sustainable business model if at some point there's got to be an exodus. There's got to be people like us who know better, who have the platforms to say this, that are going to keep applying pressure because this is what we love. This is what we do. And there's a lot of people that we love that do this with us.
Well, because at the end of the day, Curtis, it's a numbers game for them. When Spotify is dominating one-third of the entire streaming market, which is, I don't know, what they have, like, what, around 400 million users worldwide, they just figure, okay, yeah, if we lose 100,000 users, because we made an announcement that the CEO is investing $100 million in AI weapons, or we lose
Mm,
100,000 users because we just announced that there's a dollar increase, even though we laid off 17% of our workforce and we haven't had any increase in royalties for artists, then it's just a drop in the bucket for them,
mm,
right? They're just like, oh, we'll just get 100,000 more, So it's not sustainable in terms of eventually there is a finite number of consumers that are going to get your product, but we're just not there yet. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So I think it's more so I can't be worried. I can't control. what other people are doing. I just
Wow.
build what I can do. You know what I'm saying? I just build the alternative where it's like, okay, from them 100,000 that's fed up and you want to have an alternative solution, then I'll just build the solution. And that's how I'm just gonna run my business.
Hmm.
The same
Hmm.
thing. Fine. Keep on messing up and I'll
Yeah.
just keep on building.
And that's exactly where I went as well. Like it kept bothering me that I was so nervous about taking my music down from streaming because there haven't been many examples of what that looks like to remove it and create your own on it. So it's like a lot of times we're writing the new blueprint. Yes, there's been the Nipseys, there's been the Ryan Leslies, there's been Prince, in 2015 where he removed his music. But we're also not privy to all of the business that goes on behind closed doors in terms of like what that looks like, how much more work that's putting on your shoulders. But at the same time, if we say that we run a music business, this is the cost of doing business. You said something earlier about Spotify's investment in AI weapons. You messed me up with that in that one video, and I need you to the best of your ability, expand more on that because there are Music Business Worldwide articles that I've discovered since then. Tell us a little bit about how Spotify has made investments in this and how this affects Palestine.
So at the end of 2021, when everybody was distracted with their Spotify wrapped up and showing, look at how many streams I made, and
Right.
look at the $81 I earned this year from whatever. So when everybody was distracted and posting up their stuff, Daniel Ek, the CEO and founder of Spotify, quietly had announced that he is investing the equivalent of $100 million into Helsing AI, which is a AI weapons company. And looking up and doing research on Helsing, they're basically like, don't worry, we're one of the good guys because we are only going to create and distribute our AI weapons to democracies, good, trustworthy democracies like the United States or Israel. And
Right.
then you look and see that the Israeli military became the first industrial military complex to use AI weapons against the Palestinian people. They have
Wow.
an AI weapon called the Gospel, and they say that this is an ethical weapon because it allows them to shoot a target with such precision that it can avoid taking out casualties, right? So they're going over like they're shooting for a terrorist, and then they're
Right.
saying, well, oh, we can just like make sure that we avoid everybody else in that living room. But the problem is that they don't actually use that aspect of the technology. As you can see, if you followed, and I try to bear witness, but at the same time, not so much to where I become desensitized because
Right.
the images are just horrifying. And when you're seeing that it's mainly women and children and families that are
Yeah.
being destroyed, and it's just so I mean, it's just disturbing, it's disgusting, it's all of the things. And it's just like when I did further research recently, I found out that Daniel Ek is actually that $100 million was just the first in a series of rounds where he has actually pledged $1 billion total to
Wait,
AI.
wait, 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 wait. It is one more time, because it's never about the initial hit. It's always about that counter. It's not even the counter. It's all about the combination. It seems like the way that they really lay the hammer down is they test it out in the general public right in front of your eyes. They play with you in your eyes, and then they say, "Oh, you thought that was the worst of it."
Hmm.
So one more time, this was an initial investment that ended up reaching $1 billion into this technology.
Yes. So yeah, and Juno just said how much for what? $100 million was invested by the CEO of Spotify towards AI weapons. And that is just the first in a round of investments where he has pledged a total of $1 billion. And these are weapons that are now being used to commit genocide.
Recording
These are
stopped.
weapons that are specifically for democracies
Right.
like the United States and Israel.
Wow. I, what is kind of your instinct tell you about what interest a Spotify would have in making these investments? If you just had to kind of throw a theory out, because I'm sure you thought about this.
Oh man, well, I don't think it's Spotify as a company. I think it's just Daniel Ek.
Just act
Because you
yourself.
think about some of the richest, most powerful men on earth, you think about Elon Musk and you think about Jeff Bezos and like these type of like venture capitalists, the Sam Altmans of the world, and they have some of the most powerful technology and data in the world. And what you think about is like they ain't worried about what's going on Earth. They already planning to build, life on other
Right.
planets or whatnot. They are already that's why just a week and a half ago, Daniel Eck just announced his newest venture. He's investing in an AI body scanning company, a healthcare company, because they want to be immortal and all the things that we see in the sci-fi companies, right?
God, he really is becoming Doctor Evil. That bald head wasn't enough. Now he's really becoming Doctor Evil. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So I think it's just like the quest, for power.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. It's just like, when you have that level of wealth and influence, it's just like the world is your playground. You're not seeing the little people. It's just like, you can press a button and just make things happen.
Wow.
And that kind of power is ultimately going to corrupt. And I think that's just where it is. It's just like people don't do it's nobody ever doing things to me. People do things for themselves. People are
Hmm.
always motivated by their own self-interest,
Sure.
And I think that's just where he's coming from.
And a lot of that stuff is, a story old as time when it comes to those who corrupt when they achieve a certain level of power. Like a lot of that stuff is what we've seen before. I think what makes it so discouraging is because this is the person in charge of deciding fair rights for artists,
You
and
know,
he don't care. Like, can I read this to you? What my favorite thing to say is Daniel Yick, Yick. Can I share what he said on Twitter a few days ago? This is May
oh,
29th.
I think I already know what you're gonna say. Read it. Come on,
I
Curtis.
I I wanted. I saw this and I was like, hold your opinion. I gave an opinion, but I was like, hold your opinion. I'm gonna wait till I talk to Kaila. Daniel Ek said, today with the cost of creating, let me get this full message because, 160 characters wasn't enough. He had to get this one off. He said, today with the cost of creating content being close to zero, Cap, people can share an incredible amount of content. This has sparked my curiosity about the concept of long shelf life versus short shelf life. While much of what we see and hear quickly becomes obsolete, there are timeless ideas or even pieces of music that can remain relevant for decades or even centuries. He goes on to give an example where he says, we're witnessing a resurgence of Stoicism, with many of Marcus Aurelius' insights still resonating thousands of years later. This makes me wonder, why are the most intuitive yet enduring ideas that aren't frequently discussed today might have a long shelf life? Also, what are we creating now that will be valued and discussed hundreds or thousands of years from today? That last line, it was like he was already starting to like gaslight. That last line was like, "Oh, you're a dickhead." Excuse my language. What do you take from this when you hear this back?
What I take from it is that there is not any intrinsic value that he's able to discern for human artists, that
Yeah.
it's all just a numbers game, a profit game, right? That's why when I'm talking about that, I'm able to, maybe get 100,000 people to cancel their subscriptions, but at the end of the day, it's just like a numbers game. That's not enough to actually make a dent, where he's talking about the cost of content is close to zero. So you're just looking at it as purely whatever the profit is, whatever the time takes, whatever,
Right.
and using that as your metric without taking into account any of the human cost.
Who is he
So that's why it's just like you said, they be playing in your face.
playing in your
That to
face?
me,
I'm
that's
like, who
that's
are
just
your
another level of
friends?
playing in your face.
I'm like, I know you've met a lot of artists in this game. Who are your friends that you're talking to? Are you running into these ideas by them? Are you having these conversations over beers when it's not in public? I look at that last line, and that really is a lot of stuff in here that's problematic. But the last line of, also, what are we creating now that will be valued and discussed hundreds of or thousands of years from today? It's interesting hearing this come from the same person that said a few years ago that if it takes you 3 to 4 years to make an album, you won't find success on its platform. So, in essence, he's created an environment, in my opinion, that has rewarded significantly more quality at the sacrifice of quality. Excuse me, quantity at the sacrifice of quality. You create this environment so people start making disposable art, and now you're wondering about, what are we really making that's going to last hundreds of years from now? What have you created and rewarded through your algorithm that has demoted those who take their time like that, and at the same time rewarded those who just keep showing up with half-baked ideas? It's wild to see that.
Yeah, because he's gonna promote and stand on whatever is going to benefit him in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you're dealing with like somebody whose value and their principles are just rooted in profit,
Yeah.
right? They see very clearly where his value system is going to change depending on what the benefit is. And now that this technology has grown so much, now that he got the AI DJs, now that
Oh
they're,
gosh.
I mean, they have such a vast data set. They say something, what it's like 40 to 60,000 tracks are uploaded to Spotify every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And most of those tracks nobody's listening to,
Yeah.
right? Or will never be heard. But all of that still nonetheless is data that's getting fed, and there's no transparency around how that data is used
Mm-hmm.
or who it will be sold to. So then you
Mm.
have Suno, who just got another round of investment, Suno AI and Udio, and right now they're like considered like the Chat GPT for music, and
Right.
they're the two front runners right now when it comes to music generation. But who might win with that? Oh, okay, I guess that was cause for celebration. Who might win with that is
Right.
going to be who partners with Spotify, because
Wow.
what better database when it comes to scraping music from the collective consciousness of musicians and the internet than Spotify.
And what other place have they been encouraging you to give us shit tons of data that you can comb through?
Period.
It's at that point now where I think a lot of artists are looking up and they're saying, for those who care, they're looking up and saying, damn, have I been encouraged to do quantity by all the people that I've been listening to just to train the quality of their AI?
Mm-hmm.
You said something in that same video that you talked about, their connection to the AI weapons. You talked about that you had a very unique API, I think is what it was called. And you were able to kind of like track some of that activity. Can you talk a little bit about what you were talking about in that video?
Right. So, um, every time you upload a song to Spotify, it automatically gets analyzed by AI. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be able to tell things like the BPM, it gives a danceability rating, valence, the energy. And none of that data is actually available to you as either the listener or as the artist. We
Mm-hmm.
have our Spotify for Artists dashboard where we can see a general overview of like a gender breakdown, location breakdown, but it doesn't actually tell us these type of statistics about our music. And
Right.
that's just what's available through the API. Again, you would not be able to access that data unless you are a programmer and are building a tool and know how to read that documentation, which I taught myself how to do. And
Wow.
so I was able to do that. But that's just what's again available, even not necessarily to the general public, but public in terms of programmers can access it. And then you can only imagine how that is also being analyzed or what it's being plugged into when it comes to the lyrics analyzation,
Mm-hmm.
or more so being able to break down the stems and the actual musicality. So that's also why I'm concerned and why I'm not putting out any more, music on the streaming platforms. Because pretty much, yeah, when you upload it anywhere, all it takes is one upload. That's why you have authors like George R. R. Martin, Game of Thrones author, banding together, New York Times suing OpenAI, the
Right.
creators of ChatGPT, because the thing that's so crazy about it is once your music or your art, your writings get fed to one of these AI machine learning algorithms and these big databases, there ain't no taking it back. That'd be like, Curtis, you have a traumatic memory from childhood. It'd be like, oh, just go in your brain and delete it.
No, it's there.
That's it.
It's
Yeah,
ingrained.
it's there. It don't work like that. So once
Right.
it gets fed, you can't just, it's not about finding the file
Wow.
and deleting it. It's there. And that's what's so dangerous about it, because it's happening without consent and it's
Mm-hmm.
happening to copywritten works. And the law is always pretty much at least a decade behind trying to keep up
God
with technology. So we had a very
damn.
pivotal point where we're hella vulnerable because we don't even have that legal protection.
Yeah, and that was something that bothered me was seeing how quickly this thing started getting released. And I'm like, there's so many things that you can't get in America. Like you can't get your LLC within a day. Like you have a process with getting certain things. When you want to establish a business, when you want to get a firearm, there's a certain protocol, there's a certain step that you have. Everything, it takes time, background checks and all that. To unleash this on the public and knowing damn well how reckless that training, the source training has got to be. I listen. It's funny because I posed a question in one of my reaction videos. I'm like, how do we know that it's just a database of that they're sourcing for one particular song? For instance, like a BBL Drizzy, they may say it's 100,000 songs that we came here. But I always learned in English class, my teacher used to say it. She said, if you take from one source, that's plagiarism. If you take from two, that's research. So what's to stop them from having two people that they're taking this this sound from, like a Marvin Gaye and an Al Green, and saying, yes, this is what our systems put together, and we came up with this BBL Drizzy song, and this is what the influence was. I think about that, and I'm like, it's so reckless. And as you said already, the damage has already been done. So I want to pivot a little bit to one more thing about the Spotify, because I want to get more so into the solution. There's a lot of independent artists in here, and anything else that you wanted to go ahead and bring into this conversation. But Johann Rohr, and then I want, do you know, you're familiar with Johann Rohr, right?
I'm not too familiar.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on game, but I need you to put me on game to, what's the old girl's name that you did some deep searching on and found out that was real bodish?
One of the ghost artists.
Yeah,
Ogaka, but there's so many.
Could you explain to the people what a ghost artist is if they've never heard that term before?
Right. So a couple years ago, Rolling Stone magazine came out with this article, and they have identified, like, at least, and there's, thousands of them out there, these artists that have hundreds of millions of streams on songs, as well as millions of monthly listeners on Spotify. And when you look up these artists, first of all, they profile picture is like a mountain silhouette or just something. It's not like a person.
Something generic,
it's always
right?
something very abstract. And you'll try to find, there's no bio, there's no website. You try to Google them. They don't have no Instagram, again, no website, no other social media platforms, and none of their music is on any of the other streaming sites. You're not finding it on Tidal. You're not finding it on Apple Music. You might find it on YouTube. And it's like, what the hell is going on? So as we know, Spotify editorial playlists, they can make or break an artist. If you get on a Spotify editorial playlist, and even if you're on there for half a day, that could do numbers. I mean, I always go and study, and I got on a Spotify editorial playlist a couple years ago on the Fresh Finds. And I think I did like 100,000 streams on that song on a day by just being on that playlist. I'm surprised that Spotify didn't ban me for fake streams. But anyways, if you get on an editorial playlist, some of them have millions of listeners. So what Spotify will do is put their own AI, or I don't even know who these people are. They create this fake artist. They put them on their own playlist that generate hundreds of thousands of dollars through millions of streams that they then don't have to pay out to regular artists.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, because they have a pie system at Spotify, and that's what makes it so problematic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, you mentioned, what was the name of the artist that you found? Because you went and checked her YouTube, you checked her bio, and it said her dad was like some person that was not even real.
Macedonian violinist, and then he don't exist. There's no, you know what I'm saying? It's just like,
okay.
And I did this for multiple artists.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I checked out all of them, and it's the same trends every single time.
So while you were pursuing that, I was pursuing this composer, Swedish composer, mind you, named Johann Rohr. And Johann Rohr has over 650 artist profiles on Spotify. Collectively, the songs that he's put together have more streams than Michael Jackson. They have more streams than ABBA. He is on a lot of the major playlists on Spotify. He just so happens to live very close to the Spotify headquarters, allegedly. And you look at that and you contrast that with these independent artists who are just trying to distribute their music, and just, they're saying, you know what, I don't think the payment is fair, but I'm gonna figure this out, I'm gonna figure it out. And they're saying, no, 90% fictitious streams, you can't stay on this platform, and they're not giving them any kind of transparency on it. I look at that and I'm like, remember Kevin Gates said, it's okay when they do it. It's okay when they do it, but when, and they're not even doing it, which is crazy. Like, the artists are not even doing it. It just looks like they're trying to do everything they can to satisfy their more powerful relationships. I know Lucian Grain from UMG, he went on record recently saying, I think there's too much music on streaming. I think we need to get rid of a lot of this music that's on streaming. It's just too congested. And then before you know it, you start seeing music just being taken away. One last point I wanted to make about this Spotify threshold, and this was something I was privy to a little bit before we got on here. People, it was crazy. I don't know if you remember when that threshold got announced, a lot of artists were split. Some artists were like, that's messed up. I don't know how I'm going to be able to make even the money that I was trying to go after. Some other artists were like, good. Some of y'all don't deserve it. Some of y'all not professionals. I get to get more money. And I looked at that and I was like, if this is a movie, I don't think they understand that we're all screwed in this movie. And now that I'm looking at it and I'm looking at more information, I realized through a few videos, you could literally have 250 songs. So you got 250 songs, right? That collectively do 250,000 streams. You won't get paid for any of them if none of them reach the 1,000 stream threshold. Wait a minute. That's just the first part. Spotify gets to tell you what streams actually count. How do they count those? With unique listeners. They get to determine, hey, if this song has 250 unique listeners, for instance, that's the one number I saw throw out there, then we can start counting that towards that 1,000 threshold. All of a sudden, it becomes just that much more difficult to get those 1,000 streams, as they say it. It's not just about getting streams in general. Another crazy thing about that is that, okay, you get to 1,000 streams, that's when you start getting paid. You don't get any back pay for what you've done before. All that traffic you generated, no money for that. You only start getting paid with 1,000 streams. I look at this and I'm just like, I understand that businesses have to cut costs and figure it out at some level of what it is, but it's just like, why does it have to come at the cost of really what's the foundation of the platform? Without the music, what is Spotify? What is any of these streaming platforms?
Mm-hmm.
So I know I want a large rant, but I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily a question, but I just had to get that off because I'm like, this is what a lot of artists are up against.
Yeah, we really are. And I think that a lot of it comes down to capitalism, where it's like, some
Sure.
of the hardest working people here in America are the least paid and the least respected. And it's just, again, they look at it as a sheer numbers game, as certain people just got to get sacrificed because at the end of the day, they're going to the big three, Warner, Sony, Universal, and they're
Mm-hmm.
negotiating deals because they know that the average person ain't looking to get a Spotify subscription to listen to Kayla Love or Curtis King. They want to listen to Beyonce or, the big name artists.
Right.
And so they're negotiating to be able to have those artists on. And so they're going to do whatever they got to do to get those artists on. And we're the ones that get sacrificed on the platform because they feel like that's really who's bringing it on. And then whoever the other 50, 60,000 no name artists, that's extra. So we can say that we have all of this music on our platform that would be virtually impossible for you to listen to, even if you stream
Right.
24 hours a day over your entire lifetime.
Well, think about how difficult it could be for them, but also for the person that re-uploads their music after it's like, so say for instance they do their due diligence, say they have all their ISRC codes sitting inside of an Excel spreadsheet, and they plug everything back up. They're still tracking their royalties. They're still able to kind of track the streams. You get back on the platform, you're now removed from all the playlists that song was on. And I can't remember the actual percentage it was before, but I want to say it was something along the lines of 60% of streams come from uh, playlists, are generated from the traffic on a playlist. I'm not sure if that's the exact number, so don't quote me on it. But if that's the case, getting that 1,000 streams is not as easy as that person once thought it was, especially if you have an extensive catalog. Because now what are you going to do? Unless you have content that is redirecting people to that project from 5 years ago, what incentive do they now have to give it an extra boost of streams? And then let's not even take into account interludes. Let's not take into account, different traditional songs that would have had more of a fanfare because of the whole body of work and the way that it was when it first came out. Now it's a different feeling because you've moved on. You're in a different space. You're promoting new projects. It's not as easy to go get those streams again. Now think about having a discography of 40 albums that you have up here. It's a lot of songs that are not going to be getting 1,000 that you should be getting. Even if they're paying coins, you need to be getting your coins off of it. That's what I think people are not, bigger artists are not understanding how this affects them as well.
Right, because at the end of the day, that's not something a bigger artist is. They got people for that. They got people that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the whole point of being signed to the label is that you have transferred over the right to that master sound recording for that sound recording to be exploited for sync licensings, for playlisting,
Mm-hmm.
and you have that direct connection. You know what I'm saying? But that's the whole thing about depending on a third party platform, right? Because a couple years ago, Instagram erased my whole account.
Really?
I think, yeah, they erased my account. Now, luckily, I had a friend that worked at Facebook at the time,
Mm-hmm.
so I called him up and he just went down the hall to the Instagram people and he got it reinstated. But if I did not have that personal connection, I would have been done for.
Done for.
Everything that I would have worked for, it would just have been gone,
Wow.
right? And the only thing that I would have to back me up is my digital real estate, which is my website and
Mm-hmm.
my email list. But all of
Mm.
those followers will be gone. It's the same thing with Spotify. That's what the problem is depending on a third party platform. Is now I'm getting tagged in more and more takedowns every day,
Same.
where it's the same DistroKid. Hey, we have identified this song as being showing activity for fraudulent streams, and it's been taken down, and all of this type of stuff. And now with Spotify, it's even worse because, like you had mentioned earlier, you don't know who the people are that are listening. If they find
Mm.
you on a playlist and they like your music, you better hope that they hit follow. Because if they don't, it's very likely that they will never see you or hear from you again. And there's no way for you to capture their information to let them know that you got a special going on, that you got a tour coming up, that you got a new album dropping. And so it completely disempowers the artist, and you ain't getting paid.
And you ain't getting paid. Like what? That's why I'm like, if we're conducting businesses and we're being real about conducting business, and I think that's where I had an eye-opening experience as I talked to some of my peers when I made the pivot into content and I got into the YouTube space. I started selling courses eventually. I had already had a career that's, spanned 15 years plus. But when I got into YouTube, this was the first time I learned how to actually conduct a business, how to nurture an email list, how to, collect leads, how to do all these things that I used to think were like really, really slimy. And I learned about like, different terminology that I was like, do I really want to get into this funnel space? But what I learned there is the same thing that I am applying to my business now. And it's the reason why I'm finding success direct to consumer, which I'm now understanding. The eye-opening moment is like, I have to teach my peers, or I have to put them in front of people that I feel I can teach them the way of conducting that business, because not everybody is ready to do it the Curtis King way. Not everybody's ready to do it the Kaila, for sure not the Kaila Love way. I'm not even ready, damn it. I'll be looking at some of the stuff you told. I'm like, what the hell? How the hell you got all of that? The folk, my brain can't even wrap around it. But I want to talk about some of the solutions. Before we get to the solutions, though, I want to talk about what are some of the things that you're noticing that artists are doing, especially independent artists, that are not helping the problem and that are kind of shooting themselves in the foot as all this chaos is going with streaming.
The biggest mistake that I see artists make is really two mistakes. One, new song dropping, go stream that, go run the numbers up. No, that's not
Mm-hmm.
an offer. If you they I read Alex Hormozzi's $100 million leads. He said to make money, and we're talking about money that is not in exchange for your time. But if you
Mm-hmm.
want to learn how to make money, you need three things. You need to have one, something to sell, two, people who are willing to buy it, and three, a method of facilitating the payment, securing the bag,
Right.
right? Or in the case of Canva, securing the bag,
Oh,
right?
don't you get me
And
started on that damn Canva video. Go ahead.
so
I put them in a song. I was like, yep, y'all finna get it this week. Go ahead.
Right. And so, like, a lot of times artists are like, why am I not making money? It's because you are not sending people to a place where you can make money. You are sending people to a platform
Mm,
where you are just giving Spotify all of your power. You're sending all of your leads over there with
facts.
absolutely no way for you to ever get a return on that investment, for you to ever capture that investment, to start building a relationship with that person that actually wants to listen to you. And so you wonder why you're not making money because you're giving away power to somebody that don't even respect you or values what you do. So
Hold
that's
on,
the
hold
biggest
on.
that I see artists make. And
I
then secondly is
Kayla,
artists
Kayla,
that
Kayla,
don't
Kayla,
know.
Kayla, Kayla.
Oh,
Hold
okay,
on, hold
okay,
on,
hold on.
hold on, hold
All
on,
right,
hold
okay,
on, hold
okay.
on. You cooking, and I don't want to interrupt, but I need this.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Sometimes people tune out when they're not understanding all the term. I need them to focus in one time, please. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt the cookout, but that first point is so important because there's too many people who are just. You finally got people interested in your music because you made music that they're interested in. Good job. That's a tough task in itself. Creating art, it can be very expensive at times, especially when you care, and it can be very energy draining. You have now took the end product and you've decided my rollout is going to be jumping on an Insta story or a live and saying, go run them numbers up. You know what I mean? Go run them. Hey, Spotify. Do my dirty work. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, no, you're helping to build Spotify. There's a good argument for Spotify being here longer than what you'll be here for at that rate, because you're continuing to be almost like an affiliate that doesn't make any money for the companies. You don't get no
And they wonder
kickback,
why they so damn powerful.
and the kickback is 0.0003. You know, it's funny because I didn't think about it in terms of that until I started thinking about when I started inquiring for people who run ads, and they were kind of saying, this is the kind of traffic I think I can get you. I started recognizing, like, oh, their rates are a lot higher than 0.0003 in terms of what that traffic means. And I started thinking about that in terms of numbers. And I'm like, if I'm creating songs that are retaining your subscriptions, and I'm getting people here, and I'm looking at my year-end wrap-up, and you're telling me, hey, this is the amount of hours you kept people on our platform. These people are seeing ads. These people are spending more time on the platform because maybe I was the entry into that rabbit hole. At least with YouTube, people like to compare it to YouTube. At least with YouTube, people don't know this, but like if I watch a Kaila Love video and then watch a Curtis King video and then go watch, you know what I'm saying, like an Alex Hormozy video, Kaila gets all of that watch time because you sent them through the rabbit hole. As long as they don't break the session, you get that watch time. With Spotify, you get what they say you get, and you better smile and be happy about it. Now,
which is also like, am I even getting that?
Am I even getting? Well, I don't have the data, and you're not being transparent with the data to ensure or give me the confidence that I could even sustain this. I can imagine the people. This is something I'm terrified of, and I've been thinking about this. There's so many people that I know that are making, you know, they found a way to win at the system of Spotify. They putting out a crazy amount of quantity, and I do worry about their sustainability in that. But there's folks who are figuring it out. All right, cool. Props to you. I'm concerned about the day that you figure out that 40 to 50% of your listeners are bots. I'm concerned about all that energy that you invested into those dopamine spikes and all of those vanity metrics just to figure out they didn't give you a business. They convinced you had a business while you were their customer. So I'm sorry. I hope I didn't interrupt the second point that you were making about the problematic ways that artists kind of maneuver this. What were you getting ready to get into with that?
No, I mean, that was the big one. And I think you're absolutely correct because I think that it does take a lot of effort to get people even interested in your music. So it's like, don't give away your power. You know what I'm saying? Learn how to create an offer and an experience around your music, which is going to be more important than ever in this age of AI when people that are not creatives, that are not musicians, just can go in and type a prompt and get something that sounds sonically, you know, comparable to what the average listener is used to hearing. And so it's going to be more so the role of artists is going to have to evolve in order to compete in this changing digital landscape. But the other thing is that artists, they don't, you know, we wanted to be artists. We don't want to be content creators. We didn't want to be marketers. We didn't want to have to learn all the legal side and everything like that. But there are aspects, if you want to just make music as a hobby, then that's fine. Then this ain't for you. But if you want to make music as a business, then you do have to understand certain business principles and have business infrastructure, specifically a way of being able to create an offer and facilitate payment for that offer. And that also means that you have to have a baseline of marketing. And that a lot of that time, it starts with being able to just describe what kind of music you make, right? Because this song, my music ain't for everybody, right? Like, or sometimes we get upset because it'd be like, why my friend's not supporting my music? Well, maybe I'm a hip hop artist and my friend likes rock. Right. I can't be mad at my friend for that. You know, that's not, if I'm depending on my friends and family to sustain my business, I'm not going to have a business for very long.
And no matter what the business is, like that's not, and you know, I had to have that conversation too. Like I was like, I used to be concerned about, you know, cousins or aunts that weren't fans of what I'm doing. And I'm like, first of all, if you look and do your own stats and you look at what your demographic is, they don't fit in any of the boxes. They don't fit in any of the categories. One. Two, this is another human being who just so happens to know you. Right? They happen to, oh, bless you. They happen to know you. That doesn't mean that they owe you because they know you.
That part.
And so I think that it's even more important that you recognize how, in the beginning, how lonely this is, because at the end of the day, we chose to go into this field. All of the stuff that we're complaining about, at some level, we chose to go to war with this kind of stuff. And I still look at it, and like I know a lot of folks get discouraged when they hear stuff like this about the platforms, but I'm like, I hope you're also hearing the excitement in our voices. The excitement, it'd be very different if there weren't solutions that we're both discovering. My solution has been through direct to consumer, my website, actually nurturing an email list, doing things that are private off, kind of like off the public internet to talk to my folks. doing private shows. Like I have my stage downstairs where I've rocked some shows, and I've had my audience come in and we've had really great conversations and really like connecting moments in that. So I've really become more DIY, but I'm always searching for, other ways to generate income in what I'm doing, because as much as I love my music, I wish I could take a whole let me get a mic on the camera. I wish I could take a whole handful of love and go into the bank and be like, that's my baby. Could you deposit that into the account so I can go pay some of these bills? No, we have to figure out, and everybody has a different business model. But what I think is so interesting about what you showed me over the weekend, it's a solution. It's a option that I think is more than worth discovering, especially for those who are not as psychotic as Curtis King, right? These bags are under my eyes, not because they're a fashion statement. I promise you that. They're here because I do a lot of tasks to ensure that I can support this thing that I love. But can we talk a little bit about what it is that you're creating for artists, the opportunity that you're creating for artists? And we even have something here that I'm excited to, share with my audience. But could you talk a little bit about some of the things that you've done proactively to help artists who are in this predicament?
Man, yeah, I have so many artists always coming to me and asking me when they see me, do my 100,000 followers on TikTok, or when I sold my first NFT, and then be like, how do you do this? And I do some type of training afterwards. And then it started to be the same questions over and over, to the point that I was like, I need to start maybe creating videos that are going to answer the questions to this. And then it got to the point where the videos and the strategy was not enough. I need to show them exactly what button to press, where to input, copy and paste, how to actually make this system work. And so at the end of 2019, I had paid $5,000 to learn how to build a music monetization system. The problem with that system was that I was not told, when I invested that amount of money, that it would cost me close to $300 per month in order for all the different softwares that I need to sustain that system.
Right.
And this is when I kept going back, like, I think I'm on the right track. I can see the value in this and how it can compete in terms of actually being able to generate some real money and have it directly in your pocket. Because that's the other thing that I don't like about the music industry, is that when you're generating your fraction of a penny per stream, if you're able to even do that on Spotify now, you got to wait quarterly to get paid out. Like, what kind of business can run out on quarterly payouts, And so I was like, no, I need a system where you can get money into your bank account within 24 hours.
That part.
And you need a system that's going to be able to automate certain processes, because, it's very difficult to do this without a team. And a lot of times the artist is the cover art maker, maybe the producer, the engineer, the content creator, the one who's reaching out to fans, all of this. And so it was like, how can I build a software? How can I leverage this technology, not to replace the music that I'm making,
Right.
but to do the other processes that I would normally have to outsource to a team, where it'd be very difficult to sustainably pay for and cut into the profits. And so that's when I created Go Getters AI. And it's the comprehensive all-in-one system. It replaces about 15 different softwares, and it replaces your GoDaddy, your Wix, your ManyChat, your Zapier, your Spotify, your Shopify,
Patreon.
your Dot, or it allows, you to earn essentially an unlimited amount of money. But not only that, because I could give somebody a grand piano, and it doesn't mean that they're going to be able to make a masterpiece.
Facts.
Have to show you how to use this tool. And that's why when I partnered with Christine Morel, who, like me, she's Latina. We both been homeless. We come out of poverty. Her family's not far from where my family's in, from New Mexico. And she's gone on to do multi-millions of dollars. I go to her house. I see, what's going on. That this ain't a game. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about 7-figure music business. And basically, I've taken her strategy and my software. So this is like over $250,000 that has been invested to ensure that these are the top marketing tactics in the world. That's proven, that's scientifically been tested, and with a superior software stack. And that is the foundation of my business.
Look, and I say this to my audience only because I know we've had things in the past where, anytime you guys see certain buzzwords, I know some of my audience gets nervous. They see masterclass, they see webinar, they see funnels, they're like offers, they're like, oh no, I did that as a producer. I did my due diligence, and I had an opportunity to see this technology, this platform that Kaila Love is inviting you guys to get not only an introduction to, but also to get some of your questions answered about how to generate money for what you're doing. I myself am seeing, now that I'm part-time content creator, full-time artist again, I'm here full-time now, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, I get the disconnect sometimes that I have with the audience. I get the disconnect of someone who's looking at this and saying, I don't have a platform like a YouTube, but I still would like to get started. Should I start with Bandcamp? Should I start with my website? Well, I don't really know about, what kind of a website should I set up? So I think one thing that's very important, and I don't think this opportunity is for everyone, but I do feel like there's a lot of you here that are looking for an opportunity for a framework, an understanding of, okay, once I learn these skills, they're transferable to whatever else you want to do. And that was something that was a big point that I wanted you to kind of talk on, because there's skill sets that I've learned from being a content creator, a YouTuber, that I'm literally taking over now to this direct to consumer model. And I'm seeing where certain things are hitting a ceiling. So I myself am getting involved in this. You were talking about, Curtis, when you have an offer, like let me know, and I'll kind of walk you through the process. But nonetheless, not only am I going through this process, but Kaila and I have even talked about me being hands-on and helping a lot of the artists that may go through what it is being proposed. But can you talk a little bit about that other aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that right now, you have taken your music off of all streaming platforms and then talked about in the last 6 months, you've done the equivalent to over 3 million streams, right? And this
Right.
is through direct to consumer. And what I'm seeing right now is a trend of a lot of people that are realizing, a lot of artists that are realizing, hey, as an independent artist, what's working for the mainstream artist is not for me. And I'm starting to see that what is for me and what is working, and the best shot that I have at generating money and sustainable income is a direct to consumer model.
Mm-hmm.
But there are very limited platforms in order to be able to do that, because the streaming platforms, that's absolutely the antithesis of direct to consumer, right? So then you have something like Bandcamp, and Bandcamp is cool, but at the end of the day, you're going to have their emails still sitting in a database, and you're
Right.
not having the infrastructure to actually nurture them. The other thing that I have a problem with Bandcamp is I had put up my very first EP on there, and I did it at the name your own price model. I had somebody buy that EP for $1,000. And then Bandcamp, they tried to hold my money. Basically they would
Wait,
not
wait.
give, and I had to fight for my money the way I had to fight with Venmo, the way I'd be fighting with
Oh
Spotify. And
my
so that kind of
gosh.
left a bad taste in my mouth, where on my platform, I make a sale and it's in my bank account the next day. You know what I'm saying? So it's just also the
Sheesh.
cash flow is very important in terms of helping artists to sustain their life and their business. And that Bandcamp, even that though it solves the problem, we talked about the three aspects of making money,
Right.
the facilitation of payment is one of them, but the other part is being able to find and bring in those people that are
Mm-hmm.
actually willing to pay for the service, right? And I think, that was, I know Jared is saying not Bandcamp too and stuff like that. Again, I just be going through it, y'all. So, and also
No,
most
but
people
you,
are probably not going to have somebody pay $1,000 for their project. So maybe it just
man.
got flagged in the system and stuff, but it's like,
Nah, Kayla,
I,
I think we the chosen ones. I think this kind of stuff happens to us because we have the platforms to speak on it, and we can help people move to action. I've always
Mhm.
said this about Bandcamp. I think that Bandcamp, in my opinion, is the closest thing to the convenience of streaming as it's currently designed, because it comes with an app, right? You can sign up. There's no subscription. It's free. I think as it's currently designed, there's a lot of great things that they're doing. However, they're under new ownership, and these things are, what happens with new ownership. Eventually, like I just saw that they have like enhanced payments now where you're able to get more than just PayPal. Cool. But I know something else is happening. I know something along the lines is going to happen where I'll have the same conversation I had about all the other platforms. Well, it's not my platform. It's theirs. It's their business. It's their right to change it however they want to change it. So I've always said in my videos, even my tutorials, but make sure you have a website or you have another option in the event you get deleted up off of there, you get canceled, you say some wild shit. Who knows what happens? You gotta have your digital real estate on lock.
Yeah. Just owning your email list and your website. That's like the only two pieces of real estate that you really own. And they're really, really important because at the end of the day, if Spotify, well, I didn't beat them to the punch. So I didn't took all my music off of Spotify. So they can't even do that.
Yeah,
They're gonna
yeah.
try to probably delete my profile. They're probably gonna try to block my new song, nospotify.com, when I upload it on there. But you know what I'm saying? Like
I love
I just
it.
don't want to depend on them third parties, you know? To have my success, to be able to get in front of who I need to talk to at the end of the day. And so I think that's why what you're doing with content is really important because it shows like that even if I lost it all, I would be able to get it all back when you have certain of these principles, when you're building a foundation.
Right.
Because that foundation, every time, you know, sometimes I have artists, they have life emergencies. We have stuff that's going on,
Yeah.
real situations, and then they fall off and be like, I feel like I'm so behind. But look, the time gonna pass either way. So would you rather at least have a
Mm,
foundation that you slowly build up that you get to come back to? And after you go through that family emergency and you're ready to get back, then you have actually built something versus, you know, you just stop having the money to invest and then you see your monthly listeners fall off. You feel like you got to start all over and then
right.
you're never going to be able to recoup those funds. You know, now you have them here and you're able to just keep on building and building and building. And so that's what I think the beauty is. And then the other aspect is when I look at some of my quote unquote competitors, which they ain't competitors because ain't nobody doing what I'm doing. But
Talk
in the
about it.
mind of, you know, artists, they might think like, oh, is that a competitor? And it's like, no, because a lot of times you sign up for their site and then you on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You sign up on a site. Me, I do this
Yeah.
several times a week. I do coaching calls, I do webinars, I do live
Salute.
teaching. I got a help system. I got virtual assistants. Like, you know, people, I be sending voice messages and I'm responding on Instagram DMs and stuff. So when you are a go-getter, you're not just in this isolation, like, oh, great, you got a membership and go figure it out. It's like I give you all of the support, I give you
Mm-hmm.
all of the education, and you have a whole community.
Come on.
You know,
Come on.
a lot of these sites, it's like you go to the about, you don't know who's behind running this. No, best believe it's Kaila Love.
I love it.
Okay. You see my face everywhere.
Every
You're going to see popping up. I'm on the tutorial. Like, what's up? Yeah, click right here.
you, you
Okay.
you know
Or
what
don't mess with
I
nothing.
don't
Okay. Don't be calling me and saying, oh, I messed up. I'll be like, I told you not to. You didn't watch the help center library, you know, and that's why it's like I ain't no
I love
like tech bro, you know.
it.
I build tech, but I'm a real person, you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
bring humanity to tech, you know what I'm saying? And there
Yeah.
ain't nothing like that. So that's why
Look,
that's
anything
why
I've asked of Kaila in the last few weeks in terms of like information or even like okay, a little bit of transparency, she's leaned in on all of that. Like there's not a question. That's why I say if you guys have any questions about the masterclass, you have any questions about anything you've heard in general that you want to ask Kaila, are you cool for a few questions in here?
hit me or
Okay.
whatever. I'm
Just want to
looking at the
respect your
chat right
time.
now.
Just want to respect your
Yeah.
time. Okay, but yeah, and shout out to my guy Haran. He said something that was really interesting. He said they def are under new ownership with Bandcamp. He says as a tech guy, new ownership rarely means the same mission statement.
Oh, that's right.
Talk about it. Okay.
I'm gonna take these questions, but you know I've been drinking all this tea. So hold on, give me
No,
just
no, no,
like 30
hand,
seconds.
no, no.
I'm gonna
You
be right.
go. You take care of business. You take care of business. Man, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, round of applause for what we heard so far. I told you it was gonna be some information today. I told you. It is absolutely ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous the kind of stuff that we're seeing right now that's happening. But how much of it is really a surprise, right? How much is it really a surprise when you're seeing, folks got their own businesses to take care of. I get that. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you don't take care of your business. And so if I ever present anything in here, just know I've done my due diligence. And I only bring folks on here that, first of all, if I don't like you as a human being, it's going to be really hard for me to do any kind of business with you. I know that's a very immature thing to say because in business, you're not going to like everybody. I'm sorry. That's just going to be my ceiling then. I cannot conduct business with folks that ethically I don't see on the same page with. And Kaila's just been someone who's been stand up about every single step of this process and what she's been sharing. Let's start here with Shada Che. He says, can Kaila help engineers and producers get their cut from what we're talking about?
So when we say get your cut, is it like a percentage of what's already out there, or is it, oh, I'm sorry, my son going crazy. He's like, or is it just being able to monetize?
I think it's monetized. Yeah, I think it's monetized.
Yeah, because when we're talking about that, this will work. Really, this works for any business, but it's just never been structured or marketed to the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
So it can work for traditional artists, it can work for engineers, it can work for producers, singers, songwriters, coaches, small entrepreneurs, etc. Because at the end of the day, what my system does is it helps you do what so many other systems don't, which is create an offer.
Right,
An
right.
offer is not a Cash App link in bio. An offer is not go listen to my music on whatever platform, right? So it helps you come up with like an entire value ladder. And
Mm-hmm.
it just means that we have the formula. You just put in the different ingredients. And
Mm-hmm.
so for you being an engineer and a producer, your ingredients are different, but the formula is the same.
I
So
love it.
yes.
I love it. Uh, my guy, Pay the Producer, he has a question here. He says, a little off subject, but do you use both? Do you both use email and text alert or just email? If you use both, which brings the best results? I'm not currently using SMS right now. I transitioned from a platform I was using called Community, and I still have a little bit more education to do in terms of how to operate that part of it. But I am still using email. What about you?
Yeah, I use email. I do also have text messages, and I also use like keyword automation. I have like also like chat widget on my website that will connect to my phone. Um, I have like my Google business, all kind of all across the board. It's just about getting the information out there. And it's one of the things that I'm experimenting with in terms of the ways that we can use SMS marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Ryan Leslie, he was a big pioneer in this space. Even Joyner Lucas, when he was signed to a label, he owed them 6 albums. And then he turned one in and they said, this ain't no album, this a mixtape. So you still owe us six. And he basically named that album, that mixtape, phone number, and then started doing direct to consumer through that. And I always thought that that was
Mm.
interesting. But now it's like, okay, through my platform, you can basically do the same thing and be able to get like a business phone number and do keyword automations through text, where it's like you buy a song from me. And then anytime you want to listen to that song, you just text the name of the song to my number and I'll send you back the link. And you only get the link if you've been a verified purchaser.
Wow. See,
So
and
that's one.
that's cutting out all the silliness of the bots, and that's making sure that you're talking to real human beings. I can't tell you how encouraging it was as I went direct to consumer, and I'm talking to real human beings, and I can verify they're real human beings, because there's so many times where it's like, even when you have success on a song, right? Even when you have success on a song and it's reaching out there to people, you're like, cool, I see the vanity metrics rising, but who is it touching? Who am I talking to? What's their life about? Why do they play my music? Why do they choose me? What are they going through? I think all of those things are supremely important. Let me see. It's not hard to make your own website, but there's a lot of fluff content of folks trying to sell you extra stuff on the side. Lots of businesses rely on emails. What's kind of your point of view on that one?
So what we do is we create like a specific type of website, because you're right. There's two different types of website. There's a traditional website where it's like you go to kailalove.com, you're gonna see my bio, you're gonna see all the different services you could book me for, you're gonna see pictures, you're gonna see videos, you're gonna
Yeah,
see
your
my
website is
CV of
crazy.
every show I did in 2008. But when I'm trying to convert into a sale, I am sending you to a page where you can only take one action.
Mm-hmm.
So don't nobody get confused, right? I'm trying to secure the bag. I'm trying to get your email. And so I'm not going to give you hella options. So
Yeah.
that's why you need to have your artist website for sure, like your portfolio, but you also have to have basically your landing page that's going to go to your funnel that makes it very easy. Somebody said KISS, like keep it super simple,
Yeah.
right? Because a confused mind makes no decisions. So we want to make sure that people are not confused. You land on my funnel page, you know exactly what's
Mm-hmm.
happening, and I only give you that one option.
And see, and that's the thing I had to learn, because I had a very, just being transparent, because I keep everything very, very funky with my audience. I had a very bad taste in my mouth from a lot of the conversations I had around funnels. I got so sick and damn tired of funnels when I was in a producer space. I get nauseous even thinking about some of the thoughts I had during that time. But with that said, I did always understand that it's the same thing as, like, you can't, a dollar bill doesn't have a personality to it, right? It's the things that people do with the dollar bill that makes it problematic. And I always said with the funnels, I said, we go through funnels all the time. As I've now had a time to kind of back away from it and now see it from the point of view of, how do I make this the easiest decision for somebody who doesn't know quite what they want to do first with me. They go to my website, they see I got CDs for sale. Oh, that'd be cool. Oh, he's got t-shirts. Oh, that's cool. Oh, he's got this. Oh, he's got. At some point, you start recognizing why the Apple websites only have one option. You go to the website right now, I think the last thing I saw when last time I visited was a laptop with like a singular raindrop going over the top of it. And it's like, this is our main focus. Well, you know, Apple has all kind of products. They got Apple Music, they got Apple TV, they got all these different things. But their singular focus when you go to apple.com was this one thing. Now, I know that's different in terms of what you're talking about with the offer, but that's the thing about it is that, yes, there are many people who can create a website. I get it. I've created 1 million landing pages and websites. There's a difference when you understand that there's a science to every page. There's a science to every, it's the same thing that when you work for, like, if you ever went to Hot Dog on a Stick, pause. You ever went to Hot Dog on a Stick and they told you, like, you want the medium or you want the large? I'm taking medium. It's only 50 cents extra. They do it in a terrible way, but there's a reason why you're like, all right, cool. Like, even when they do it badly, they still make that sale. What I think is interesting is that she is really showing. And I had, like I said, this weekend, she let me see what this process looked like. Come on, stall me out, y'all. I know I said hot dog on a stick. Look, pause me out. Stall me out. But she showed me kind of like the inner workings of it. It makes so much sense for somebody who's never been. A lot of artists know how to make art. They don't know how to sell a damn thing, and that's problematic. And not just problematic for your music, problematic in life. If you think sales is only having to do with music, try proposing to somebody who don't know if you're gonna be a good provider. You got to sell to them too. You have to sell the idea that if I say yes to this proposal, I'm in good hands. It is a part of our life. So I think understanding this is not only something that's valuable to what you're doing, but also it's a valuable life skill that you can learn and you can translate to whatever the hell you choose to get into. Some of you are making music today and it probably won't be that in 5 years. That's okay. You know, some of us are living in shadow careers of what we're going to really do. But for those of you that are, both of y'all are going to learn something important from this that you can transfer to whatever you want to do. Some of you may get into clothing brands and whatnot. But I think once you learn the system, you learn a system, and you have a way to do that, you could be making income that is exactly what you need to really just take off some of the pressure of the subscriptions that you got for all the music equipment that you're using, or to upgrade your music equipment. That money means a whole lot in this new economy. I'll say that. It's a hell of a lot more than what Spotify's doing for you right now.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
You know, but they do allow you to put your merch next to your music now. That's cute.
But how much is that really converting?
Well, I wish we had the numbers.
Exactly. So we won't even know if that really even matters. You know what I'm saying? And I still feel like it's nothing like direct to consumer because, like you said, a lot of these, they call them listeners. They don't call them fans, right? And a lot of times, you already have, somebody might have been exposed to you, but they still got to take the extra step of following you and then landing on your page and then still liking you enough to now navigate away from your page to your shop. There's a lot of steps going on. So I feel like, okay, that's cute, but I don't think artists is really making money like that.
No, because if they was, they wouldn't have all the time to talk about all the ways that they're getting screwed. Like the reason why I think you and I are able to show up is because we've discovered solutions that give us the freedom and the platforms to talk about these things very transparent. For some artists, this could be like career suicide for them if they don't know how to navigate this space without those platforms. But because we went and did the work, it allows us to display things that are really, really helpful to a lot of artists. Like I've been talking about doing some form of content creation teaching to my audience. And we had conversations that I was like, all right, well, maybe this may be the opportunity to do that. I don't want to let the cat out the bag, but I will say that tomorrow, let's talk about the masterclass tomorrow, right?
So the masterclass is very simple. I'm going to show you how you can make 10 times as much revenue profit from not sending your fans to Spotify. That's it. 10 times as much. And that's on the low end.
Sheesh.
That's very simple. So I'm going to show you, and it's free. You know what I'm saying? It's free. I'll teach you, I'll show you literally the difference on the money that's being generated when you send somebody to Spotify versus when you send them to your own optimized digital real estate page and everything that my software does, right? Because somebody was saying like, why reinvent the wheel? Something about like WordPress and stuff. Mainly because I remember I won a rap competition and it was a $2,000 prize. I remember the dude, he actually shorted me $1,300. He
Ugh.
didn't think that I was gonna be nobody, so I ended up having to call his ass out in Berkeley when I was the president of the hip hop club in front of like thousands of people, and he couldn't do business in the Bay Area
Sheesh.
anymore. So he went ahead and moved it over to LA. But that's another story. But with that $700, I bought a WordPress website. And the problem that I have with WordPress is like it has all of the widgets and everything, but if you don't actually pay somebody to maintain the
Mm-hmm.
site, then all of like they break down, it becomes outdated and stuff like that. So that
Facts.
really wasn't a viable solution for me. Then I had tried to go to GoDaddy. What I realized about GoDaddy is that their email servers have been hacked for years. So when I had got my email, Kaila at kailalove.com, that's actually how I got my Instagram hacked and almost lost it by having my website on GoDaddy. And so again, these are
Oh
all personal
shit.
experiences on why I built my own stuff and why I am the best.
Look, Kayla,
Yeah.
Kayla, I went to New York for a weekend and I didn't use a VPN and I was logged into my GoDaddy account. I came home after my trip to New York and I own like tons of domains for different courses and businesses that I wanted to go ahead and launch in the future. I came home and I had about 40 URLs, 30 to 40, gone.
No.
Ownership
So,
taken over to somebody else.
oh, that hurt. I know
All
that
of
hurt
them.
Isaiah too,
Oh
talking about
my
he a web dev. I'm like, oh, that hurt.
Oh my gosh. When I seen that, I was like, wait a minute. CurtisKingBeats.com is how I'm currently paying my rent right now. CurtisKing.com is how I'm redirecting traffic from my YouTube. CurtisKingTV.com is late. And then I get on the phone with GoDaddy, and they as helpful as they could. But the crazy thing about it is that I've learned from a lot of these companies, they can never get your money back as quickly as it's taken away. There's always some kind of protocol, always some kind of like, oh, we got to make sure they running through through the name servers and make sure that the DNC, DNS. I'm like, okay, but make sure you get my shit back because this is my businesses that are attached to this. And I kid you not, I forget how many days that it took, but eventually I got my URLs back and I just had to make sure that I added that extra level of security. But just knowing that that was there, it had me look at, it was a DNS attack. Yes, it was Haran. Haran's also another artist that is heavy into the tech field as well. And man, we always have great conversations with him. But yeah, it's when that happened, it just opened my eyes to how vulnerable a lot of these things are when you don't actually own any kind of hosting, when you don't actually own, when you're renting this from someone else, it's always vulnerable to a certain degree. So as much as you can create these opportunities, oh my gosh, it's you never know what that money could be for what you're building.
No, exactly. And it's just like, man, I know DNS attacks are rough. That's why I moved over to Cloudflare because it's like literally when you go in, it's like login and the button next to login, it says under attack. And they got like, you under attack, that's priority right there. So they have a whole help
I
system. It's
love
like
that.
literally it say under attack, you're
Yeah.
like say less because we do not play. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So,
And that's why
yeah.
where Papa
Uh-huh.
said, yeah, that's the hope you forget it and go away. That's the principle that so many of these tech companies are running on.
Facts, and we here to expose all of that. Look, first and foremost, I just got to make sure three round of applause has got to happen for today's information. That is crazy the amount of information gems that you have given everybody here. So I want to end this with some final thoughts. I want to make sure that we reiterate the invitation to tomorrow's masterclass conversation and understanding of what this actually looks like for those who are interested, for those who are ready to do this, because some folks may not be ready, and that's all right. I just need you to understand that anytime I present something to you, I've done my due diligence, and it's always going to be something legit. With that said, though, where can people reach you is one question I have for you. Secondly, where can they hear your music? And then thirdly, some final thoughts as well as an invitation to this masterclass tomorrow.
Oh man. So yeah, I'll put the link in for the masterclass one more time. So that's masterclass.gogetters.ai. Again, this is completely free. So just come, show up, learn about the strategy. You don't have to buy anything. Like we're gonna get, if you feel like you got value from this session today, there's definitely gonna be a whole lot of value in that session tomorrow. Curtis is gonna be there and we're just gonna have a good time and teach you the strategy for how to 10x your profit by not sending your fans to Spotify, and what the future of the independent music industry looks like, because
Mm-hmm.
we are building it, just like Franklin, brick by brick, we building this thing, and I truly believe that in everything that I do. I appreciate, you, Curtis, for offering your platform for
Always.
me to be able to come on here, talk my shit, you know what I'm saying, educate the
Mm-hmm.
people, just hearing out what I want to know, what problems that y'all are having, what things that you are facing, because this is also a software that is fluid and dynamic and building in real time. I
Mm-hmm.
had some people come to me and be like, but I would really like to have a music player. So I sat up until 2 o'clock in the morning that night and I built a music player, and it was live the next day, and
Sheesh.
it's generate for all. So that's also what is unique about my software, is that it really is, I really believe in giving power back to the people, power back to the artist. Hearing what I build is what you want. So all of the articles in my help library, they come out in the order of according to this is what I need help with. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm very responsive, and that's very important to me. I worked customer service at the Marriott for 10 years. So I do not take that lightly.
And we
I take a
don't.
lot of
Those of us who
integrity
have been in
in,
it, we don't. We don't.
you know
I
what I'm
did. I
saying, in
did. I
terms
did
of
Quiznos. I did Quiznos customer service right, really
and
close to a LAX. Those were some of the most
yeah.
difficult customers you ever meet. But yeah, I get it. I get it.
And it's just, this ain't no, this ain't a company that's made by no, I mean, yeah, is Daniel Ek really human? I don't know,
I,
because yeah, it is given some alien, you know what I'm saying? It is given
it's
non-human.
giving
But
Dr.
best
Evil
believe,
for
Caleb,
sure.
you see the soul, right? You see the soul. So that's why it's like, man, this is what you're part of when you're,
Right.
it's like we have a good time, we build our business, make music, make money. That's what it comes down to in terms of keeping it simple. And I just believe in I believe in freedom for people. And I believe that freedom starts with economic upward mobility.
I love it.
In terms of us, so many things that we want to be caring about, we got to pay bills.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, I'm on a quest. I'm on a mission to operate outside of their system, to
Hey.
create out of the business, to
Yeah.
demonstrate how it could be different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I stand on.
I
And
love it.
you can hear that song at new.kaylalove.com,
All right.
because you can't hear it nowhere else. It's not on Spotify.
Oh, hold on. Tell them that one more time. You said new Kayla.
New.kaylalove.com.
New
That's
Kayla.
my new.kaylalove.com. That's where you could get that song for free. That's because it's not on Spotify. It's not on
Oh, here we
any
go.
streaming platform. Right now, my music, I just issued a takedown for Spotify, so I haven't even checked. It might be up there still. It might not be, but it won't be up there for long.
Mm-hmm.
So don't count on it. But you can listen to my music on other streaming platforms, or you can buy my whole music catalog for $5. Period.
Okay, there was a question I had. Maybe we'll answer more of that when we get into the master class tomorrow. What do you say for people who are like, well, are we heading in the right direction by creating, because how much do you have in your discography? Just out of curiosity.
How much do I have in my discography? I
Yeah,
have about 50 songs.
50 songs. Okay, so
So three EPs and about 25 singles.
how do you feel about folks who are like, trying to figure out like, well, I think my music is worth more than even just the five and da 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 da. And, is it something that is like, is it restricted to that? Is it something that you feel
You
like
do
it
whatever you
cheapens in
want.
it? Okay.
It's your world, baby. You do whatever
Yeah.
you want. We help you come up with the offer, and that's what we'll help you test it. You know what I'm saying? But really, it's just whatever you want. Like, that was the offer for me,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, that $5 that I'm getting from somebody buying my entire discography, it'd be like, how much would I have earned on Spotify if somebody sat there and listened to every single one of my songs? Probably like around the fraction of a penny times 50 songs. It's like still 3 cents.
And imagine how long that would have took with 3 to 6 months just to get that money. That's why I don't think people understand. It was funny because I catch all kind of hell for sharing this information and doing it the way that I do it, because it's very loud about. I'm just as loud about my failures as I am about my success. But I shared the whole thing about making 11 G's with going direct to consumer, and I'm like, I don't think people recognize a few different factors. Somebody was like, damn, bro, you got 200,000 subscribers and that's all you could muster up was 11,000. And I'm like, do you understand the forces that I'm up against right now? And then also, too, even if you don't care about any of that, I'm a new business that just started a few months ago. This direct-to-consumer music or Curtis King did not exist beforehand. Have I dibble dabbled in some direct to consumer? I've sold physical. I've done a lot of that. But to call this my official business in which I'm doing the graphic design for, I'm doing the video editing for all the content, I'm, mixing and mastering and producing a lot of this stuff. I'm writing and recording my own music. Like, give me time. Because if I did this solo dolo for the last 3 months, or last 6 months, only off of 3 projects, imagine what this is going to look like off of 10 projects and some help. People just don't want to see that. And I understand.
About building a foundation.
Building a foundation.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's all I want to do. I'm not trying to I told people starting off, I'm not here for the sexy numbers for you. I'm here for the numbers that can actually help support and build a business. All the money that's going into this is going back to my collaborators, and it's going right back into reinvesting into this very thing that I'm building, because I know, hey, the money that I did from a project that I had called Storm Symphony, after the splits, I took that money and I said, this is going to be important for getting physicals and vinyls for extended warranty, which is my next project. Now that I take that money and I get all my ISRC codes and my UPC codes that cost money and the copyright, okay, we take that money and now let's invest that into better packaging. So one thing they can't ever say about me is that ever since I started this business, and I have 3 projects into it now, the third one was the best packaging I've had in my 20 years of doing this. And that's because of me reinvesting into it. So give me some time. And that, that we sold, we sold out of those. So give me some time. It ain't sexy right now, and that's fine. It ain't meant to be. It's meant to be sustainable, and that's the most.
Proof of concept.
Proof of concept.
Proof of concept, and it's building something that's yours, that nobody can take away from you. That every time you come back, you ain't starting from scratch. You starting from experience. You starting with a nurtured list. You starting with a structure. You have the order forms and stuff. You just update the product and you just keep it going. You have a system now, a self-sustaining system, and every artist needs to have a system, or they get sucked into the system of like the
you become the system,
and it's just like we need our own, and I truly believe in that. That is the future of the new independent music industry, period.
I love it. And this is a reason why, like, anytime I'm learning something new, I'm making sure that I invite you guys along on the journey with me. I'm transparent about these things, but I've talked to Kaila. I said, not only am I inviting you guys into this process, I'm doing it my damn self. Because if she can help cut some of these subscriptions down, you don't think a direct-to-consumer business like myself would want that? Or that you can create some passive income that doesn't require me to be stressing myself out trying to figure this out? You don't think I need to go ahead and generate that? And I can do it off of my music? Are you kidding me? So for those that get it,
it's like Mills is saying, like, facts, because I have no structure, no lie. And I feel like it's almost even more beneficial for artists like Mills that I'm seeing in the comments than even you, because you we gonna move your stuff over. Like, I'd be like, oh yeah, like I help people already. My Bandzoogle is coming up, and I don't want to pay them like this $100-something subscription. No problem, I could replace all of that. I replace your Wix. You can cancel all of that. Shopify, $30 a month, no problem. I got you.
Yeah.
You can do that all with my software. And if you're starting from nothing, then it's even easier because you have nothing to replace. You don't even have to migrate. It'd be like, look, I got the templates already built out for you. Plug and play, baby.
Yeah. Oh, no. 4 round of applause is very, very much needed. An innovator in every sense of the word. Please, 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 please seek out all of these different things that you are presented with. Kaila's book, her music. Go seek out all this. Make sure you follow on the social medias. If you look now in the description, I got all of these links that you can go ahead and locate. I'm telling you, wherever you find her, you will see a tremendous amount of value. In the short time that I've been following, I found a tremendous amount of value. And even in this conversation today, it's just value bomb after value bomb after value bomb. So I just say a genuine appreciation that I have for your transparency, your passion to help artists, because you could have very well found your own success in this and be like the rest of these tech head asses and not give back. But there's so much, like, I see so much fire and passion in what you're doing, and I have so much of that in me as well. And so it's dangerous for folks like you and I to come together, because don't it's one thing for us to find success. Do not allow us to have more proofs of concept from people who were like, I went from not making no money on my music to now I'm making this, and I don't have to wait 6 months. I can get that money the next day in what I'm doing, and I get to support the very thing that I love. in this economy, that in itself, I do not take it for granted for myself. That's a miracle in itself. So let's help some folks. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all there tomorrow at the master class. The
Yes.
link is right there. It's
I'm
really
saying
easy to
it
get
one more
set up.
time.
Huh?
I know E-Money Bags, he said he came in late, but thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate you, sir. And in that master class for tomorrow. So make sure that, yeah, you register, just, your name, your email, you get all the reminders and everything. It's free. And we're going to sit down and I'm going to show you how you can 10x your profit from your music by not sending your fans to Spotify, which I know it sounds so counterintuitive, but it's possible.
that's
It's
awesome.
profitable. And that's what we're gonna be doing.
Oh,
And yeah, somebody who said that we should co-author a book. I know because you got a book
I
and I
do.
got a book too. My
Sitting
my
right back there.
AI bootleg brain,
He got a
you
better
know.
he got a better hairline back then than I have today. But we got look. The information is still solid. I promise you. But yeah, no, we for sure.
I know we gonna be doing
This is the
some
beginning.
things.
It's a beginning. I know you said you were feeling a little bit under the weather, but so we even more so appreciate you for pushing through and coming here to give all of this value. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Kaila Love. I will keep this video up so you guys can go ahead and watch it. We thank you once again, Kaila Love, because you just blessed us with a tremendous amount of information, and you gave a lot of people some things to think about in terms of building their own business. So thank you so much, Kaila Love.
Thank you so much, Curtis. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
All right.